So Robert Eggers' Nosferatu has just surpassed Longlegs' box office record. Longlegs was a horror movie with Nicolas Cage that came out last year in 2024. I'm pulling this from Screen Rant. Per Variety, as of Sunday morning, so this past Sunday morning, that'd be January 12th, 2025. Nosferatu is projected to close out its third weekend in theaters with a three-day domestic gross of $6.8 million in North America and $13.7 million internationally. This will bring its cumulative box office total to $135 million, surpassing Longlegs' worldwide gross by $8 million. And then we jump over here. I'm pulling this from Comic Book Resources, and that is, Robert Eggers wants an original movie following Nosferatu's success. Nosferatu marks Robert Eggers' fourth directorial effort. Yes, previously he directed The Witch with Anya Taylor-Joy, I believe. Yes, it was Anya Taylor-Joy. He also did The Lighthouse. That was with Robert Pattinson and Willem Dafoe. And a couple years ago, he directed The Northman with Alexander Skarsgård and Nicole Kidman. I actually heard some good things about The Northman. I skipped it at the time because I was just like, it's Robert Eggers, and I didn't really like The Witch, and I really didn't like the Lighthouse. I almost said The White House. No, it's The Lighthouse. I didn't like either The Witch or The Lighthouse, so I skipped The Northman. And even when Nosferatu was announced, where it's like, oh, okay, they're doing a remake. It's a German silent film from the 20s, and it's like, and it's gonna be directed by Robert Eggers. My initial reaction was, that guy. He did The Witch, he did The Lighthouse. Like I said, I skipped The Northman. I heard The Northman was good, but I've also heard from people that The Witch and The Lighthouse were good, and The Witch and The Lighthouse really didn't do anything for me. But anyway, I'm tangenting. The director has already made a name in Hollywood as one of the most daring directors with a passion for dark stories, and he wants to continue working on original stories. In a new interview with the Daily Beast, Eggers highlighted he was pleasantly surprised that Nosferatu did so well over the holidays. The gothic horror, which is an adaptation of F.W. Murnau's 1922 silent horror, which in itself is an interpretation of Bram Stoker's Dracula, premiered on Christmas Day. The gothic horror exceeded expectations after its $40 million weekend debut, and the director highlighted the success only helps his vision for the future. Quote, I'm absolutely surprised, Eggers replied about Nosferatu's commercial success. With a budget of $50 million, the movie has already sunk its teeth into profit as it passed the $100 million milestone, and it currently boasts a worldwide gross of $107.9 million via the numbers. And again, if the new numbers are to be believed, it's probably going to be close to $135 million. It also continued an exciting Rotten Tomatoes trend of only certified fresh titles with positive reactions from moviegoers. Quote, and obviously, it's a pleasant surprise. The thing that I'm most excited about with this film, with the film's success at the box office at the moment, is just I had creative freedom and support the whole time. That's exciting, and I hope it's helpful for other filmmakers. Let's see. Eggers pointed out that his latest directorial debut is based on a pre-existent IP, which further helped the film's odds. Quote, I think at the end of the day, even though it's 100 years old, it is still an IP. That was something Focus Features was able to understand and lean into with their marketing strategy. He continued, producer Chris Columbus has been saying that it's unfair to call this an IP movie. He thinks it's an original movie. I think everyone will have their own opinion about that, but it probably helped, I must admit. End quote. And I will jump in and defend it that yes, Nosferatu is by definition an IP movie. However, what helps Robert Eggers' Nosferatu is that everyone has heard of Nosferatu, the 1922 silent film, but very few people in 2024 going into 2025 have probably seen that 1922 German silent film. And unless if you're a film historian, a film buff, or a film school student, you are not going out of your way to watch a silent movie. But anyway, the article continues here. The director also thinks that Nosferatu's success helps with his future plans, but not by far. His previous films, 2015's The Witch, 2019's The Lighthouse, and 2022's The Northman, have not been based on any pre-existing IP, and Nosferatu marked his first remake. Quote, it only helps, but it's still a funny time in the industry right now anyway. I can't make a $100 million esoteric non-IP movie just because Nosferatu did all right, end quote. He explained that a well-known IP has its creative benefits for sure. Eggers revealed his future plans. I'd like my next film to be an original one. Best of luck to you. Eggers didn't reveal any plans for his upcoming title. Quote, I mean, I can't talk about it, but I always have a lot of scripts in the works because you need to. And by the way, just because I want my next thing to be an original thing doesn't mean that anyone's going to finance it. But that's what I would like, end quote. Eggers' next project is rumored to be the 80s classic Labyrinth, as conversations about a follow-up film have been going on for years. The director also opened up about attempting to write Frankenstein, which he gave up after 2 weeks. So far, his next project hasn't been revealed, but Nosferatu's continuing success will pave the way for more projects. Now I'm gonna jump in. I'm gonna defend this part real quick. Eggers' next project is rumored to be the 80s classic Labyrinth. Yes. Labyrinth, obviously directed by Jim Henson, starring David Bowie as Jareth the Goblin King. People often forget. See, people nowadays forget that Labyrinth was a box office bomb, and it cost the Jim Henson Company a lot of money. So yes, while Labyrinth is a cult classic today, it's only a cult classic because it lost a shit ton of money when it first came out, and it only found its audience on home video. But again, I don't think doing a remake of Labyrinth is gonna work the same way as doing a remake of Nosferatu, because as I brought up with Nosferatu, it's a remake of a 1922 German silent film that, as I said, most people, the vast majority of people have heard of. Count Orlok is one of the most famous movie vampires, right? Is one of the most famous vampires in cinema. But as I said, very few people are going to actually go out of their way to watch a silent film from 1922, unless if you were a film school student, a film historian, or an absolute film buff. You're probably not going to go out of your way to watch a silent film. And most people forgot that Nosferatu was already remade once in the 1970s. Called Nosferatu the Vampire, that starred Klaus Kinski and was directed by Werner Herzog. Sorry, I had a brain fart there for a second. But again, it's, will Robert Eggers' next movie prove to be a success? Probably, even if Robert Eggers does an original movie and doesn't do that remake of Labyrinth, because like I said, that remake of Labyrinth is not going to go well, because Labyrinth is now a cult classic after it found its audience on home video, the VHS and then the DVD boom of the early 2000s. If he follows up Nosferatu with an original movie, not another remake, I think it will do well on its own, because hey, that's the guy that directed Nosferatu. And especially if he continues down this trend of making his stuff a little more commercial, it'll do better. But if he goes back and he does another movie like The Witch or The Lighthouse, where The Witch and The Lighthouse really subscribe to the idea of film as an art form versus film as a storytelling medium. Again, every review I've heard of the Northman said that it was a good movie. But personally, I did skip on it at the time because it's done by the director of The Witch and The Lighthouse. And like I said, The Witch and The Lighthouse are two movies that subscribe to the idea of film as an art form, which that is a school of thought. The problem is that that's a very, very niche market, is the film as an art form crowd. Most people don't really care about good cinematography, or everything else that film buffs really go nuts for. No, most people just want to be entertained. And again, I think that's what hurt the Northman, is the fact that it was the same guy behind The Witch and The Lighthouse. So it's like, it's just another artsy fartsy movie. when it really wasn't from what I heard, it really wasn't an artsy-fartsy movie like The Witch of the Lighthouse, but again, the reputation preceded him. And again, going into Nosferatu, even though Nosferatu is technically an IP movie, what it has going for it is that everyone has heard of Nosferatu, okay? They might not have heard the name Count Orlok, because they probably never saw the silent film from the 20s, but everyone's heard of Nosferatu, but they've never seen Nosferatu. If I had to take, if I had a choice between watching the 1922 silent film and the 2024 R-rated Robert Eggers Nosferatu, I'm probably going to pick the 2024 Nosferatu movie over the silent film, because to the vast majority of people, silent movies are really, really boring.